Hello Christina, it's Dr. Tinkler here from Clay Braces Direct. I hope you're well. Thank you for attending your complimentary consultation and assessment and for having your teeth scanned. So we now have your 3D models ready for us. So we should be able to do this as what we call a light. With Invisalign there's two main levels. It's purely a numbers thing, so up to 14 aligners is classed as a light, over 14 aligners is classed as a comprehensive. Obviously, if we can do that as a light, that's great because it helps to keep the cost down. So let me just break down the movement of the teeth for you. These are the lowers. This is where they are at the moment. And this is where we want them to be. So orthodontics is about alignment and getting this nice arch form. If we then have a quick look at the uppers, this is where they are at the moment, a bit squashed in at the sides, crowded round the front. So the aim is to edge the back teeth out as much as possible, broaden the smile, which in turn should create space to straighten these front teeth. So the only teeth we won't be moving is this molar tooth here, where you have this molar crossbite. So the focus is very much from here to here. If we just have another quick look at the lowers, so you'll notice a couple of things. So this is where they've been in this position for a while, so there's a tendency for them to wear a little bit uneven on the edges. So that's something we can have a look at when we get to that end point. And we can also always do a little bit of what's called incisal recontouring, where we can just smooth and polish the edges. That's something we always include in the treatment. The other thing you might notice is this black triangle. So there's a little one there at the moment, but one of the problems with the crowding is that they're difficult to clean and the gum can shrink. And then as the teeth get straighter, because the teeth are naturally flared, there's a tendency for them to touch here, and the gum is no longer there to fill in that little triangle. So one thing that we can do in this situation as part of a refinement, so once the teeth are straight, we can then do a little bit of polish here between the teeth, tiny amounts up to 0.5 millimeter. It's called IPR, or interproximal reduction. That would flatten the sides of the teeth, and then in conjunction with a few extra sets we can push those teeth closer together and minimize those triangles. But the teeth would have to be straight for us to be able to do that. So that's why we do it as what's called a refinement. So a refinement is where you get to the end of your last set, come and see us, we can rescan the teeth, we can scrutinize. If there's anything we're not completely happy with, we can make a few extra sets. If there's a tooth that's a little bit behind where we want it, we can make a few extra aligners for that reason. Or if there's a triangle like this that we want to reduce, that might be a reason in itself to do a refinement. The other thing we'll use are these what's called attachments. So the refinement itself, any extra aligners are included in the treatment. So even with a light, you could have up to another 14 aligners, and the aligners themselves wouldn't come as any extra cost. These attachments here, where you see a pink dot, is where we glue a little tooth-coloured button on the tooth, and that just gives the plastic a bit more to grip onto. So certain movements like the rotations you see here would be a bit more predictable if the plastic has a bit more to grip onto. On the upper arch, again, if we look from the front, you'll notice this tooth is worn a little bit flat. These canines are quite pointy in terms of their shape. So if I was just to superimpose the position of the new teeth on the photos we took before, so this is where you were originally, and this is where we want them to be. So it's not an exact science, but it gives you a little bit of an idea as to a potential end result. But you can see how this tooth is a little bit shorter, a little bit flatter. So that's something you may want to do some composite bonding on there just to improve the shape and size of that. But also here is somewhere that you might choose to do some composite bonding to fill in this little triangle, or we could just smooth the sharpness on these canines. But either way, symmetry just looks good in a smile. So these front two just need to be the same shape, same size, same color. Then the next two, then the next two. The further round you go, the less important it is, but it's particularly important with these front four teeth. We'll do some whitening as well, so we always include whitening gel. That always makes a big difference. If you can just lift the color of the teeth by a shade or two, matching with the whites of your eyes, it always looks good. Once we're happy with the position of the teeth, we'll need to make you retainers. So you'll always get a nighttime retainer. We also have the option of doing what's called a fixed retainer, which is a custom-made little band, just runs along the back of these, usually these top 4 teeth, or it could be these lower 6 teeth here. That's in there all the time. You'd forget it was there after a day or two, but you'd still wear a nighttime retainer over the top. The difference is you're not having to wear it quite so often. So sometimes the combination of the two works well. Another option here, if we're not able to reduce that triangle, is to have some composite bonding there between the teeth. But I think our first aim would be to try and minimize it with a refinement. So expect to have a refinement. 9 times out of 10 we'll do a refinement, and in your case it just means that would add a bit more time to the treatment. So what starts off being 4 months will end up being 6 months, so just bear that in mind. So I'll send you an email now with this video. I'll break the costs and everything down for you. I'll also CC our treatment coordinator. She'll be able to give you an idea of payment options and finance options and all of that. So I'll send this to you now, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.